Hello and welcome to Real Watchers Movie Club. My name is Garrett.
And I'm Kevin.
And we're your hosts. Movie Club is the show where we pick a movie every week and discuss it just like a book club. On today's show, we are covering the period epic Babylon. Our thoughts and more coming up on Movie Club. Released in 2022, Babylon was directed by Damien Chazelle and stars Diego Calva, Margot Robbie, and Brad Pitt. A tale of outsized ambition and outrageous excess, tracing the rise and fall of multiple characters in an era of unbridled decadence and depravity during Hollywood's transition from silent films to sound films in the late 1920s. The film currently has a 3.8 out of 5 on Letterboxd. The film was nominated for 3 Academy Awards, including Best Achievement in Costume Design, Best Original Score, and Best Production Design. Before we dive into our thoughts, though, we do want to issue a spoiler warning for the film. We're going to spoil everything that happens in this movie. And if you're going to go into this, I think you should go as blind as possible, like we always say. You have your own inhibitions before going in. But stay tuned to the end of the show to find out what movie we're covering next week, because it's quite different.
Mm-hmm.
As usual. All right, Kevin. So Babylon was my pick this week. And honestly, picked it because I've been trying to find a reason to watch it. Like, not because I was not looking forward to it. Like, I love Damien Chazelle. I love his work. And I was curious to watch this for a long time. I never got to see it in theaters. And, I just never had a chance to watch it. So wanted to throw it on the list. This was my first time. And I'm guessing it was your first time as well.
Yeah, it was my first time, but I have heard of this movie just because I feel like this is like a COVID movie. Is because, it was released in 2022 and stuff like that. And I think that's why, it didn't really do good in the box office because no one went.
It was a flop.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll talk more about it when we do spoiler alerts. But yeah, it was just, I knew about it and I knew what it was about and all that good stuff. So I wasn't going into it too blind, like not even knowing the name of the movie, but still going into it as blind as possible.
Sure. Yeah. I kind of had some inkling of what it was about because I've seen the trailers, because they were like, when these trailers released, man, it was crazy. Like, people were hyping this movie up. And then it came out and flopped, unfortunately. But let's go ahead and dive into this, because this is a dense movie. It is a 3-hour film, but it is dense though, in that, like, it is an epic. It's an epic in the same way that, like, The Departed is, or like The Godfather. And while those films are far superior, this film is definitely, I would say, an American epic in terms of like what it's trying to show and tell, and showing us the history of Hollywood. Like, obviously, we've seen movies about the transition from silent to sound films. We saw it in Singing in the Rain, which this movie very clearly talks about. But then also movies like The Artist, and there are other films that do this. But I don't think that any film has gone over the decadence and the depravity of the time. Because, we think of the 30s and the 20s and we think, oh, they're all prude, No, they were some crazy motherfuckers. I'll tell you what. Like, I don't know if you know this. Obviously, I don't. You're not really as much of a film history guy as I am, but a lot of the stories in this are based on reality.
I can see that.
So, Brad Pitt's character is based on a real actor who had a similar. He didn't kill himself at the end, but he did have a similar trajectory career-wise. Margot Robbie's character is very clearly based off of an actress who had a rise and fall very spectacularly. Diego Calva's character, Manny, is more like a general kind of story, but even in the beginning of this movie is a reference when that rich fat guy kills the person that he's with. That's a reference to Fatty Arbuckle and his crimes that he had perpetrated back in the 20s and 50s. So there is some basis in fact. A lot of what happens in the movie is fictionalized, but it is something that is kind of worth touching on. And I'm just going to go ahead and say I think this movie is underrated.
Oh.
I think, and I might be biased. And all film criticism is inherently biased, but I am biased in the way that I love Hollywood history and I love movies about movies. I don't know what it is, but I really really enjoyed this movie with its faults and all, and it has some faults. Don't get me wrong. I think it's definitely too long.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I would cut, and that's the other kind of issue because like it's all really good.
That's I was thinking to myself when I was like writing the review in my head. I'm like, it's a 3-hour movie, but going back and I'm like, what would I cut to make it a 2.5-hour movie or even an under 3-hour movie? And thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't think I can cut anything because everything is so significant in the movie. But yeah, this is one of those movies that you'll be like, hey, have you seen Babylon? And they're like, no, what is that? You just go watch it. I think you'll enjoy it. And having it be centered around movies about being movies is really cool, and about like all the crazy after parties and everything like that happening is really awesome as well. Another thing that I really enjoyed was just the skeptical, how big everything was, which I thought it was fantastic. Yeah. But you get so enticed with all of the characters as well, which I absolutely really loved. There's not a sore like actor or actress and who do you think is the main character in this movie? Because there's two I feel like in this movie.
I would argue it's Manny.
Okay.
Just because we start out with him, we end with him, and everyone else's story involves him in some regard.
Okay.
Margot Robbie's story, Brad Pitt's story, they are stringent on him being there and helping in some way.
Yeah.
I think he is the main character. I think he is the main voice. I also think that there's a lot of like the talent coming to America from other places to then create kind of the industry itself, right? Because Hollywood was founded on immigrants and a lot of other talented people from other countries. So I like that aspect of it for him. He's also, I would say, the most likable of all the characters, right? He's trying to he's working hard to get his dream and then achieves his dream and then is chased out of his dream because of something else that he loves.
Yeah.
And that is heartbreaking. That's connectable. That is like I can see that, I can feel that, and he plays it so well. I'm amazed that Diego Calva has not had more roles following this, because I thought, among all the performances in this movie are fantastic. But I think
stands out.
Yeah, he is very, very good here. I could also see an argument for Margot Robbie being a main character as well. I think that her story, while it does mirror, I forget the actress's name, is very, it's interesting, right? Like she has her, and if you think about it, the way that this film is structured and her story, it's almost like exactly what happened in real life. She's kind of a focus while she's in her prime, and then when she has her fall, she kind of disappears from the movie and becomes a side character, which is really fascinating, because that's what happens to actors and actresses when they have their fall from grace, right? But I think that like Brad Pitt, we see more of him after his fall, right? Which is also fascinating too, right? Because we've seen a lot of stories about artists who have become redundant or no longer profitable or whatever it may be. Then you have like Jovan Adepo, who plays oh my gosh, I'm gonna butcher the name here. Is it Sidney Palmer, who's the jazz trumpeter. His story is really good. I think I would have liked a little bit more depth though
in his character build.
Yeah, because he's filming the film and he's a huge success, and then they make him use the charcoal to darken his skin because of the lights, which is heartbreaking to watch that scene. But then we don't really see him again. Like we'd see him a couple of times, but like
like at the very end, we get to see him doing what I think he loved the most about it, was playing his
True.
music to other people. But
Yep.
yeah, that heartbreaking scene when he gives him the charcoal to put on his face, he does it, but then he afterwards he's like, nah, this isn't for me. It's changed. I feel like he notices the change in
Yeah.
Hollywood. Like Margot Robbie's character didn't notice the change, and
Well, she
Brad
didn't
Pitt's.
live long enough.
Well, Brad Pitt didn't know the change. He knew the change, but he couldn't change with the times.
He couldn't keep
Like,
up.
yeah. With Sid, his character could keep up, but he didn't want to keep up with the times. I feel like, so that's why he got out of it or not too early. He got out of it early in this movie.
Yeah, I could definitely see that and agree with that. I also like on the performances side. I mean, we already talked about the main ones. Lee Jun Lee, who plays Lady Faye, is also wonderful in this movie. She is definitely not in it as much as I would have liked.
So is Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, but I feel like Tobey Maguire, which was funny because he was marketed as like one of the top characters.
Yeah,
but
he's in it for like 10 minutes.
He is definitely more like a cameo, kind of like Jeff Garlin is, kind of like Spike Jonze in this movie. This movie has a lot of cameos, but like it's fine. Like it works to fill the world, and I wouldn't say any cameo was distracting. Like, I think they all fit in very well.
Yeah.
And so I really liked that. And like Spike Jonze as the German director during like the war sequence is like manic and like chaotic, but then like it's that I know I'm kind of getting off topic here, but I really like that whole sequence, right? Because it apparently, according to other filmmakers who have watched this movie, that nails the chaos that goes on set to get that one shot, right? That one perfect shot. And then when you get it, it's like, to use the film's imagery, it's an orgasm, right? Like it is that beautiful release of like emotion and energy. And that was a great moment. Like, it's funny, sure. Like because like, oh, he's drunk. I was expecting him to vomit on the poor girl, knowing this movie's like sense of humor and like its depravity. We literally start the movie off with an elephant just shitting on someone. But,
unexpected.
Yeah, but like, so it's very fascinating. I do want to continue on my criticism though, that I think this movie is missing some depth, and I the more I think about it, the only thing that I would say you could cut, and I don't want to cut it, but the only thing I'd say you could cut are Lady Faye and Sidney Palmer's parts, because that would give you a little bit more time to flesh out Margot Robbie, to flesh out Brad Pitt, to more time for Diego Calva. But then we would lose those great characters. We lose Giovanna Depo's Sidney Palmer. We lose Lee Jun Lee's fantastic Lady Faye, who is the most delectable. Like that her singing sequence in the intro is fantastic. I mean, that entire party, man, I don't know. I have a whole new thing now where, like, if that kind of party actually existed, if it actually happened, I have a new thing I want to go back in time for, because that party looks fucking baller.
Crazy.
Like people literally died at that party. But like, but another thing is, I think this movie gets a little too bogged down in set pieces and spectacle over more moments of heartfelt depth with those characters. Like the party scene, fantastic, incredible cinematography. I mean, the cinematography through the entire movie is like flawless, but like it's a little too long. Like they could have cut it back a little bit, maybe just a little bit. But like, again, I enjoyed seeing all this, like,
craziness,
as SpongeBob says, debauchery, right?
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that in like this old situation, like, because this feels more realistic than a movie like The Great Gatsby's parties did, which when it was blaring like whoever, I forget the rapper's name, Jay-Z. It's like blaring his music, but it's like the 1920s. This feels a little bit more grounded. It's the jazz band, and I know I'm kind of taking this over, but man,
it's okay.
The score in this movie,
so good.
The jazz, that main theme.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the one that plays at the end of the movie.
Yep.
But is so good. But I'm a little curious. Like, did you have any critiques of this movie? I mean, besides obviously the 3-hour length or like possibly any pacing, is there anything that kind of stood out to you that maybe didn't work?
Maybe not worked, but I wanted maybe more backstory on Sid's character to make him like. I still liked Sid's character in this movie, but it just didn't. It didn't work with me like it did Margot's and Diego's character. It was like, oh, cool, like he's just being himself. But then it's like, okay, that was it. Maybe there was a little. I really enjoyed actually being on set with people from when Margot Robbie's character is learning to speak during her that one part of the. I don't know if it's a movie or a commercial they're shooting.
It's a movie.
It is with.
They didn't have TVs back then, so
that's true. With the sound guy, like they're all getting frustrated at each other because the lights are so hot. Like all that whole sequence is so cool to me because you would feel all of that on the camera and on that day because you have to remember your lines, but you're sweating and is the camera rolling? It's just so chaotic and hectic. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's like uncut gems kind of a way, but in this movie there are uncut gem moments where you're like, oh my gosh, like what the heck is going on? Everybody needs to calm down.
Yeah, but that is film production sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what really nails it. And luckily it's not at that tempo the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
There are some slower moments, which is really nice. Also moments of just tension. Like the entire scene with Tobey Maguire's character is kind of scary. Like,
but then they throw in a little humor too.
Sure.
With the prop money.
Yeah, and then they literally go to hell. Like, well, they don't literally go to hell, but like,
it's the underground.
A representation of it for sure. But yeah, like it's and Tobey Maguire in this movie, the way he looks is gonna haunt my dreams.
He looks so weird.
But he's I don't know if you know that he was actually an executive producer on this movie.
Oh, I did not. No. Mm-hmm. So good for him.
Which is really cool. Which means that he kind of believed in it. But yeah, I mean this is one of those movies. Like I'm not gonna say that it is. I think it's a really great movie, and I love it because of the history aspect, and it makes me want to read up more on Hollywood history and time, story, events, right? And I don't think it's necessarily the most I'm obviously I'm gonna remember that I saw this movie, but like I'm not gonna hold it up there with like Singing in the Rain. Like it doesn't feel as monumental. It almost like this could have been a miniseries. And I think it could have been just as good. But the last thing I want to bring up, is probably one of the more controversial parts of the movie, and I want to get your opinions on it. The ending, when Diego Calva goes to the movie theater, and he goes like basically through history of film. Which, by the way, that starts off because he's watching Singing in the Rain, which this movie very clearly has a love and appreciation for, because we see Brad Pitt at the original filming of that scene, but then also the scene where Margot Robbie's in like the Victorian dress and all that is a direct reference to the scene in the movie where Lena Lamont can't speak, and so like she keeps turning away from the microphone. I don't know if you remember that. But it's direct. So there's a lot of direct connections. But like the ending where it flashes through like the history of film, and it's kind of like that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it shows like the newer movies and stuff like that. Is that what you're getting at? Yeah. I enjoyed that actually. I didn't have a problem with it because he's sitting down to watch a masterpiece, and then it just shows us how many more masterpieces came from the 1950s all the way to present day. And it doesn't go in like a specific order. It just gives little shots.
Vaguely Vaguely chronological, yeah.
But it gives you different shots of different movies, and you're like, yeah, that was a good movie. Yep, that was a good movie. So watching it all, I was like, oh, I can see what they're trying to say. Is just movie is one big cinema, and no matter what movie you try to make, even though if it fails or if it's good, you should still make it because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that a lot of critics get this wrong. I think that because a lot of them say that this is, I don't know the word. Like it's too self-important. Like it's trying to make something, like
bigger than what it is.
Yeah, but I think that completely misses the point because the whole point is that Manny's at the theater, and he's watching the film and he's seeing how beautiful it is. Right. At least that's how I interpret it. He starts crying. But then he notices that the stories are exactly the same. Like it's their stories, and he sees those flashbacks, and it goes back to the very beginning when he meets Margot Robbie's character Nellie. When she says, "What do you want to do?" and he's like, "I want to do something that matters." And what he did and what they did mattered, and then he's able to reflect on that because then their stories are remembered 20 years later in Singing in the Rain, and then those same lessons are brought through the history of cinema. He did have the impact, and he achieved what he wanted, which I think is what's so beautiful about that moment.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Alrighty, Kevin. So this was my pick this week. So I'll go ahead and go first with the review here. I thought that this movie, I love it regardless of its faults. I think it has a brilliant ending. It's a love letter to a time in Hollywood that we don't see as much portrayed anymore in film or TV or anything. I think it's truly something that's very, very good. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily like the most special movie ever, but I do think that it is very enjoyable, especially for me, who's a fan of film history and film. It's a film that's from a film lover, that's a tribute to film itself and to film fans, and I really like that. The manic chaos, the beauty, like it's crazy. I really enjoyed it, so I gave it a 90 out of 100. I 4.5 stars out of 5 is where I'm going to put it. So, what did you think?
Well, this flopped in the movie theater, but it didn't flop in when I was watching it. I would say. No, yeah, I was gonna say in my heart, but the thing is, I don't know when I would watch it again. That's the thing, because it's such an epic. But I absolutely love this movie. I mean, I love the history of movies. I love history of anything, pretty much. But the background, you get the behind the scenes kind of situation in this movie with the parties and how it transitions from no sound to sound, and how it could be difficult on some actors and actresses. And then it's just a skeptical and an epic, like we were saying, with the great cinematography. No one is a bad actor or actress in this movie, and no one doesn't feel out of place in this movie. I absolutely love it. I gave it 91 out of 100. So
wow, we are very close on this one. But the question now falls to you. What do you think of Babylon? We'd love to hear in the comment section down below, because just be nice to one another. It's not hard. Just be nice. But next week we're changing it up. We're looking at a Marvel film. We're going to be taking a look at Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which we're both really excited to talk about. I don't think either of us really has to watch it again, but guess what? I'm going to watch it again anyway. But that's going to be it. So thank you so much for watching. Of course, we have this show that goes live every single Friday at 4 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we also have our live stream every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come hang out. We've got movie news, reviews, and just like to hang out and talk movies. But that's it. So then again, thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, make sure to keep those eyes on the screen.